And move on to other stories. IMANI Ghana has released a report on government's performance in delivering its manifesto promises. The report says the NDC government is far behind time in executing the Better Ghana agenda, which was promised Ghanaians ahead of the 2012 polls. The report by the policy think tank scored government an overall mark of 47%. Kwache Afreniama has more.
The research was compiled with data from ministries and government agencies. It was drawn from 542 promises contained in the 2012 manifesto of the National Democratic Congress. Overall, it scored government 47% in the various sectors, including education, economy, and governance. According to the report, the John Mahama-led administration performed well, particularly in the education and infrastructure sectors. It scored government 65.7% in education and 51.3% in infrastructure. IMANI Ghana observed that the promises made on the energy and economy have not been delivered satisfactorily. The researchers noted that the NDC failed to deal with challenges in the energy sector by 2013 as promised. A leader of the research team, Maud Morte, says the results can be interpreted in two ways.
The first is you're looking at the time frame for implementation. You have 4 years to implement all the agenda in the manifesto, and you've had 2.5 years. The NDC government has 2.5 years, and during that period they've executed 47%, and for the remaining 1.5% they have to implement the remaining 53%. So what this means is that a lot has to be done in shorter time. So there has to be very smart allocation of resources.
Governance expert Dr. Franklin Odro says the result is worrying.
We're looking at 53% undelivered, as against 1.5 years. And so if you look at the timelines remaining for the government, if you look at the quantum of output that have not been delivered, then obviously, objectively, one would say that it's going to be very difficult for the government to be able to meet all the remaining 53% output. But of course, miracles do happen, and if the government can mobilize resources, it may be able to still step up.
The biggest question remains whether the governing party will meet the remaining target before the crucial elections next year. Kwache Afreniama for Joy News.
Meanwhile, government has reacted to the report, pointing out to, quote, deep flaws in the approach, methodology, and ultimately the outcome, unquote. A statement signed by Deputy Communications Minister Felix Kwache Fosu says it is obvious from the presentation that there was inadequate engagement between IMANI and government agencies, such as to allow them access all the information and data required to do a comprehensive and thorough assessment of progress on their manifesto commitment. He said the report appeared to have relied on only a fraction of information on what the government has done in fulfillment of its manifesto promises. Quote, the results as put out by IMANI therefore tell only a minute part of the story, unquote. The statement concluded that government is ready for a holistic and comprehensive scrutiny of its work and encourage all organizations seeking to do so to avail themselves.